Judy is up here today because we are highlighting children's ministry today. So Judy, first of all, I just want to ask you, tell us a little bit about your family.
So my family has been attending some connection of Southgate here since my daughter Hannah was a baby, so that's going on 22 years. We were part of Hill Fellowship, and then we were part of Bob Wells's plant, Lighthouse, and then we came back here, I think about 10 years ago.
Fantastic. Okay, great. All right, so we want to highlight children's ministry a little bit today. That's why I have Judy here. So, Judy, first let me ask you, what do you do currently in our children's ministry?
I work in the children's church area. I am a third Sunday helper.
Third Sunday helper.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably been involved for some aspect of children's ministry for how long?
Ever since we've been part of the church.
Forever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So one of the things we want to do today, I want to ask right now, you've got a handout in your bulletin of all the people that help in children's ministry. And every young family here really wants to thank every name on that list. So what I want to do right now for all of us is ask anyone that's on that list that helps with children's ministry, would you stand up for a minute and let us honor you? Thank you. Fantastic. Such an important thing. And also, please note if you see any of the particular leaders on there, like Natalie Hamilton, Nigel Darville, Jan Butler, that are listed as leading a different group. If you see them, thank them for their service. What an important thing to minister to the children. And with that, there's opportunities in the bulletin right now that it talks about. So as you're listening to this and thinking about it, maybe you want to jump in with that.
Can I interrupt just real quick? So the idea of serving in children's ministry, I know traditionally people think, oh, that's going to pull me away from the Sunday service. I go to the Sunday service so I can get fed. I enjoy it. The teaching is good. And we kind of have this idea that we might be missing out if we are spending our time with the children versus the time in the main service here. But I will tell you, that is absolutely not true. The Holy Spirit is working and moving in every single classroom that happens here on Sunday morning. I have the privilege of sitting under Becky Horn. She is Becky Powell, used to be Horn.
Was Horn.
Who is the lead teacher in children's church. And to be honest, I kind of feel sorry for all of you that you're in here and not in there on that third Sunday, because I think I am getting the absolute best exposition of the gospel listening to her. So I really do encourage you that you will not miss out if you are still serving in children's ministry.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. And so as Judy was highlighting Becky, I want to highlight Judy a minute also. Judy has such a great heart for children. We're going to talk about a couple ways. But a couple weeks ago, some of you may have noticed in worship, Judy spontaneously just led all the children, dancer, flag people up front. And it was really awesome. Tell us about engaging with children during worship.
So, we all know children. We all were children at one point. There is tremendous benefit and potential hazard to allowing children to worship freely in a situation like we have here at Southgate. First, the benefit. I don't think there is any worship that is more pure than the heart of a child that is sacrificing themselves. They aren't concerned about what people are thinking. They aren't concerned about if someone's going to like what they're doing or not what they're doing. When they are totally engaged with worshiping the Lord, I think that pleases the heart of God more than anything. And having the opportunity to have that in this church and having the freedom for the kids to learn about what that is amazing. And I would really like to protect that and encourage that and foster and grow that. At the same time, since children don't have those boundaries and protocols, and they are not necessarily paying attention to their environment and the people around them, there are some potential hazards involved with children's worship, especially when there's large pointy sticks, which are very good for sword dueling, and when there's limited space. So on that particular Sunday, although we kind of try to have a right and left guard. So Sandra is always over there, and she's kind of monitoring what's happening over on this side. And Debbie or myself or some other people are usually over here monitoring this side. But that was a communion Sunday. And so there was even less space. And the communion table was all beautifully set up with all of those nice little cups full of liquids. And when I saw one particular child lifting the lid off of the communion cups and then banging it down on the side, I thought, we might lose some privileges if we don't do something.
So you jumped in, and you're talking about it from the aspect of trying to help and coordinate. But then you jumped in and you began to worship, and the kids began to follow you, and something powerful was happening.
That's the Holy Spirit. I can
It
take
no
credit
Spirit.
For what happened,
and
except
I
was
also
obedient.
give some credit to Judy. So yeah, I just want to thank you for that. It sounds to me like you think ministering to children is just as important or more important than ministering to any other age group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The children are the future of the church. And what happens in this church 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now is going to be determined by what is happening with our children today.
That's fantastic. So I happen to know you also are involved in a little thing called Berea Academy. Would you tell us about that real quick?
Sure. Right here at Southgate on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we have a homeschool hybrid school that is operating. And mostly it's classes K through 12, although we have a brand new preschool program this year, which is fabulous. So if you want a one-day-a-week preschool, it's taught by Becky Powell's mother, Margaret Horn. She's our lead teacher. And we also have a few classes for adults that they can get involved in, particularly discipleship classes. And we do the whole core of, math, science, all of that, and then a lot of elective and enrichment classes.
And so you're trying to educate children, but you're also trying to focus on the Lord in the midst of that. Would you speak to that?
Yeah, I would. So even though we are teaching math, people have a thought in their head that somehow math is not religious, but worship is. And we are trying to tear down the barrier between sacred and secular that has been artificially put up by society. I brought a little example because I'm a teacher and teachers like visuals. So I teach pre-algebra, and a problem with teaching mathematics is kids have a whole lot of anxiety about math. They hate math. They think math is useless. They're never going to use algebra when they get into real life. They feel stupid. They can't understand the problems. They have test anxiety. And so the first day of class, I asked the students to write down on a piece of paper, what are the different thoughts that run through your head when you think about math? Particularly the challenges that you have with math. And so I got all of their pieces of paper, and my husband fashioned this makeshift cross for us. So on week 2 of class, we took all of those negative thoughts and feelings that they have, and we nailed them with a staple gun, because I couldn't find a nail, to the cross.
That's
and
fantastic.
We talked about how Jesus gets to determine what's true. And those things that are the hard things in our lives, he can make beautiful. And he can even make algebra beautiful. And so we went and we burned the lies on the cross, and it kind of turned into this beautiful rose. And so we will look at this and we'll talk about it in class. And if they say, oh, I just can't do this, then we point to the cross and he's like, you can with Jesus. We're going to work through this together.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. There's so many things I could talk about with Judy. You know, she's just talking about algebra, but she focuses on literature, and she takes her British literature kids. Occasionally they do trips to England. But many years ago, my first introduction to Judy was when she helped do a lot of legwork to bring Japanese foreign exchange students to the area that stayed with people in this church. So you're just a very multifaceted person. So I want to ask you a personal thing. I thought I knew that Judy grew up in Colorado, and I was in Colorado this past week for the first time in my life. And so I was thinking, tell us something about Judy as a child. We've been talking all this children's ministry stuff. Tell us something about Judy as a child.
So Kevin just sprung this on me like 2 minutes ago, and I really didn't have a lot of chance to think. But when I think of something that maybe most people wouldn't know about me, that they might find interesting, is when I was a little kid, all through elementary school, I was 100% sure that I was going to become a lawyer. I loved to argue, and I was really, really good at it.
That's perfect. That's a great segue to our preacher lawyer today. Would you guys please thank and honor Judy here?